Hello, welcome to another MarketBeat live stream. Today we are here to talk about yet another new all-time high for Nvidia. It's the stock that can't be stopped, and here to talk about what's behind this big boost and another big run-up for Nvidia is MarketBeat analyst Thomas Hughes. Thomas, you've been an Nvidia fan for a really long time, but there's a specific reason why we're seeing this new all-time high for Nvidia and seeing all of the price action we're seeing with this stock this week.
Yeah, right. There was some pretty big news coming out of the White House. They revealed that they're allowed to sell H20 chips to China again, which is a super huge boost to the current outlook and the long-term outlook.
Yeah, and we saw that boost happen right away yesterday. As soon as that news came out, the stock popped and it hasn't stopped going up since then. Let's just take a look at some of the price action in NVIDIA's chart right now.
Yeah, right. The stock is up about 4% for the week. The last couple of weeks have been a near vertical climb, pretty strong rebound since the April lows, much better than a 45% angle. Very strong. This is a very, very strong rebound based on the outlook for the chip sales. Now it's been boosted by the sales to China, and just kind of putting this into some raw numbers. The impact of the sales to China to begin with was a $5 billion hit to the balance sheet. So they're going to be able to re-recognize that inventory and then also sell it. So potential sales of $15 billion. So we're talking about potentially $7 to $8 billion in profits this year that we were not expecting, now automatically added back into the outlook.
Yeah, it's a huge dollar number and going to be really big for Nvidia with earnings the rest of this year. I think that this is such a big news for this company because there was a lot of concern. That's why we saw Nvidia stock drop below $100 earlier this year, really just a few months ago, and now we're up over 170 in such a short time frame because there was so much concern about whether Nvidia's market was going to be limited. And now that it's opened back up again, I think that the hope and the future of this company is back up again too. I
Right.
think the question I want to go to next is just how far could it go? Is this, $5 billion impact enough for investors to say, okay, this is just the beginning of a really long run up? Or could this run up we're seeing right now be short lived? What's your take?
No, I think this is going to be a pretty long-term rebound because the outlook, even before this China news, was pretty robust. We were looking for a 50% revenue growth this quarter. We were expecting some outperformance, expecting strong guidance. There certainly has been plenty of positive deal activity to support that outlook. And now that outlook has just been bolstered. Looking at this thing long term, a lot of the analysts are thinking that China's share a contribution to Nvidia's revenue is going to grow over time. So not only is this like a resumption of revenue, but it's also this really hot growth market that's going to drive the stock higher over the long term.
Yeah, I think the Q2 earnings coming up is what everyone is paying attention to, and like you just said, I think everyone's expecting a lot of growth. But what did we see last quarter? Let's take a look back and see how Nvidia performed the last quarter when the stock wasn't doing as well as this one.
All right. In the last quarter, growth slowed, but they still outperformed, still provided solid guidance. That's part of the reason why we're expecting to see another strong report this quarter because of how much momentum has been displayed over the past few quarters, not counting the deal volume that has been reported since the last report was released. Um, so, one headwind is growth is slowing, from triple digits down in the double digit range. But even at 50%, the Q2 outlook is pretty strong. And again, with this new news in the mix, the the outperformance could be pretty significant.
Yeah, I want to talk about what analysts are saying because that's what everyone is always following. What are analysts saying about Nvidia right now, especially in light of the new news that came out this week? Have we seen any upgrades yet?
Oh my gosh, we've seen a lot of positive activity. The activity before the news was positive, including upgrades and price target revisions. And we've seen a number of positive commentaries come out since then, all just kind of restating, echoing, reaffirming what I've already said, which is that the addition to China is a huge boost, not only reversing some damage that was done to the outlook previously in the year, but also amplifying the positive outlook that has been improving since the last earnings report. So this is really like a a double, triple, quadruple tailwind for the market.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about. I'm pulling up the chart right now about those recent analyst upgrades. That is really interesting to see. You look at MarketBeat, you can see Jefferies Financial Group boosting their price target to 200, Bank of America boosting their price target to 220, which is a much bigger upside than what we're looking at right now in this new all-time high for Nvidia.
Right.
What are you thinking about these new price targets? Any surprises there? Do you think 220 is really bold? I see, back last month even, it looks like Loop Capital was looking at a 250 price target for Nvidia.
Well, right. I was going to say someone's got 250, and I believe that you're right. It is Loop. The high target for a long time was 220. That was set by Rosenblatt. I'm not surprised to see these targets come in this high. They totally align with the news cycle, the outlook for earnings. Um, Very strong support for the market. It's certainly leading it higher. As far as how high do I think the stock can actually go, I think that a lot of these targets, this high end range between 200 and 250, aligns with the technical targets. So what the charts are saying is that this market has potential to move to this level. The analysts are leading sentiment to this level, and we're expecting to see a catalyst in the upcoming earnings report and in the guidance that could drive the stock up to that level.
Yeah, let's talk about valuation because this company is now, I think, if not the most, one of the most highly valued companies in the world. Do you think that's a true valuation? Do you think there's even a much further to go for Nvidia? What do you think about this company's valuation right now?
Well, the valuation certainly has richened and improved over the last few days. I think right now we're sitting at about a 40x forward price multiple. Um, that puts us about still only about 11x relative to 2035, which is a deep, deep value. So, based on this outlook, I'm still expecting to see this stock rise by 100 to 200% over the next 10 years. It sounds crazy, but based on these valuation metrics, it's totally doable. And you add in the expectation that a lot of these estimates, a lot of this forecast is going to be too low. It's possible that even my 200% stock price target increase is going to be too low.
It will be very interesting to see if these are conservative estimates or not for NVIDIA as we move on throughout the year. Let's talk about the company CEO a little bit. We know that he made this announcement where all of this news came from while over in China, even or during a recent announcement this week. Talk about, is this a for sure thing? Do we know that that market is open? Are we for sure going to be seeing NVIDIA reopening that market?
I mean, there's going to be some risk because this development is part of the greater trade negotiations with the Trump administration. They're tied to the rare earth minerals deal, the preliminary deal that was struck with China like a month ago. So there could be some volatility. We could see, this license get pulled off the table, put back on the table. I think ultimately the government will follow through with the license. The sales will be allowed. So really what we're talking about is, will the positive impact be felt now and in the coming quarter, or will it be another quarter or two before it happens? Right now, it looks like it's happening now. But like I said, this is, the Trump and Z negotiation. So really anything could happen.
Yeah, that's for sure. There's definitely some trending towards the Trump administration really seeing the benefit to letting NVIDIA's business grow, letting them get their chips, keep this piece of the business that's important for this company. Let's get into earnings a little bit more and the expectations coming up for this NVIDIA earnings and base it off of what we're seeing already as earnings week is already kicked off right now. The big banks reporting right now. What trend are we seeing so far in earnings season, and do we expect NVIDIA to kind of follow that trend later on? Because I know they report later on in the earnings season.
Well, right. So right now the trend is positive. I would say the banks have been reporting better than expected. Certainly has improved the outlook for earnings for the financial sector for this period and for the rest of the year. As far as Nvidia and the tech sector goes, the analysts are all very bullish on this sector. They're expecting to see spending increase, revenue accelerate, margins improve, plenty of cash flow, and solid guidance, all driven by AI and the cloud.
Yeah, and the guidance makes sense for this company because there's just so many catalysts and so much demand for those GPUs. I want to talk a little bit about their business in general. What kind of demand are we seeing in the market right now? There's just been so much conversation recently about AI, just this resurgence. Again, the story this year is so interesting to me is that just a few months ago, less than 6 months ago, there was the sentiment that AI was stalled out, that we had hit a bubble, that the bubble had burst. And now that bubble is just getting even bigger because there's just this renewed investment in AI, which leads to more demand for what
Well,
NVIDIA has to offer, right?
well, right. There was that initial surge, people talking about what they thought was going to happen and what they thought they were going to do, what they were expecting to have happen based on the channel checks at the time, right? And so then there was kind of this like wait and see period where what's going to happen. And then the follow through from that initial surge has been strong and actually much stronger than anybody could have expected. So we're really looking at a bubble that's still inflating, still on the way up. This is all still driven primarily by cloud infrastructure and AI infrastructure. So we're still really talking about the first wave of AI. The second wave of AI has started to get going, but it's still lagging behind. I mean, right now it's all about infrastructure. It's about data center build out. And as it stands, NVIDIA is the leading supplier, and all the demand and the money is flowing towards them.
Yeah, let's talk about the competition a little bit, just because we have some of the people joining us live right now asking about other companies in the semiconductor space. The one we always talk about when we talk about NVIDIA is what's AMD doing too. Are we seeing AMD also kind of getting a boost from this news out of China, or is it really just an NVIDIA story right now?
No, this is also an AMD story. AMD is also expected to get a license to export to China. Will also be a big boost to their balance sheet and to their future sales. Um, Plays into their into their own positive news cycle. All the hopes that had been priced into the price surge in 2 years ago are starting to bear fruit now. The company's starting to gain traction with its AI program, with its stack development, the acquisitions and its technological development has it on track to deliver rack scale solutions starting next year. So starting next year, we will expect to see it start gaining market share from Nvidia the way that we've been expecting it to have done all along. Um, so really very bullish for AMD. The analysts are following through also with positive price target increases, leading this market into a reversal. And the price action just over the last 2 days has been very bullish. The market has broken to a new high, showing a clear signal that it wants to move higher. And the technical and analyst indications are for solid high double-digit gains.
Yeah, AMD's stock chart, that boost it saw, is right in line with Nvidia. I think Nvidia is getting all the news coverage and the headlines right now because it's gotten to that new big all-time high. It's the company that everyone follows, but there's plenty of other players to talk about, and not just other players that are direct competitors, but maybe companies that Nvidia is partnering with and working with in the AI space. So let's talk about some of those other names that might be benefiting right alongside Nvidia right now this week, seeing similar boosts.
Well, I mean, it's all the usual players. I think SMCI is doing pretty well. Let's look at their chart. They're moving higher this week. Stock is up 8% this week. That's pretty hot. Definitely on the verge of crossing a critical resistance point. At that point, I think that SMCI stock could start making a serious and significant advance, all driven by AI. You got to remember that whenever somebody buys a NVIDIA GPU, they're really buying a server built on an NVIDIA GPU that's coming from some other manufacturer like Supermicro Computers.
Yeah, that's a one question that TC just had for us. TC, thanks for joining us today. But talking about is really the demand for NVIDIA. It comes back to how fast can these other, manufacturers help actually get these chips out there and get these chips workable and to that commercial phase. So let's talk about those other companies that manufacturing partners with NVIDIA.
Right, like Taiwan Semiconductors is probably the primary. So far as I know, they're ramping production capabilities to meet the demand. So another strong player in the semiconductor market right now.
Yeah, I'm just getting that chart pulled up here right now too.
Yeah.
Taking a look at that stock price, this company has had more of an interesting run and more volatility than even Nvidia or even AMD had, where we were at that 140 to now almost 240 in the span of just six months. So
Well,
quite a bit of moves for this company. They have been so tied to the tariff discussion too because of their investment in U.S. Manufacturing facilities too. Do you think
right.
that plays a role into what's happening not only with this company but also with Nvidia too?
Oh, for sure. Part of the story is the onshoring of manufacturing capacity. They're both big players in that. TSM is trying to onshore not only the front end, but also the back end and the packaging, so there will be a complete domestic onshore solution for advanced Nvidia AI chips. Other companies will also benefit from these moves, including advanced micro devices.
Yeah, there's a couple other names that are coming in on the chat. Thank you again, everybody, for sending some of these out here. One that we want to talk about is ARM. This one is another semiconductor company. Looking at that chart, I think that we're seeing a lot of price action there too. That one had a little bit more down and then up again today. Have you covered ARM before? Anything you can share about that one?
I haven't. I know that a lot of semiconductor technology is based on their original designs. Um, they're certainly benefiting from the AI boom. Their stock price is tracking in alignment with Nvidia's. However, it's lagging. What I see in the chart right now is some struggles with resistance at the all-time, actually below the all-time high levels. So with this in play, I'd be a little bit skeptical of getting into it. If this market were to rise above the 170, 180 level, I'd start getting interested in it. But certainly it would depend on the news cycle, revenue, profitability outlook, and the analysts.
Yeah. Important information. We've got a couple other names we want to cover, and then we're going to wrap up today. This one's a little bit of a shorter one, but we wanted to get out and talk about the big headline, and that's Nvidia today. Let's talk about another one that's a recent IPO that was all the rage for a long time, and that's Coreweave. Taking a
Mhm.
look at their stock chart, this one is all the way up at 143 right now. It's had a huge climb since IPOing earlier this year. Let's talk about
Right.
what's going on with that chart now. They are down from their high, but they did get a little bit of a boost. It looks like right in line with the same news that Nvidia had a spike on
Right.
too.
So yeah, the stock price certainly has rocketed higher since the IPO. We've had a pullback, a correction, but it seems like it's hit a bottom and it's going to begin rebounding pretty soon. Certainly in alignment with the Nvidia news. But CoreWeave, they're building out advanced high performance data centers built on advanced Nvidia technology. So if you think, you know, the Nvidia technology is hot because it's so cool, CoreWeave is going to be a hot stock because they're actually applying this technology and making it available for public consumption. So it should have a pretty solid revenue stream long term moving forward.
Yeah, I just pulled up the analyst consensus price target for CoreWeave too, and that's a little bit concerning when you see where the stock is trading right now and that consensus price target. But it's part of that just because it's so new.
Yeah, certainly because it's so new, the analysts are going to be hesitant with their estimates. They're going to want to see the business actually follow through with what the expectations are, see revenue and earnings begin to grow. Um, but over time, I would also expect to see those estimates rise. As far as I know, right now, the analysts are pretty bullish on the market. It's just that the price target is lagging. So next few quarters, we see some positive results. We should see the analysts begin lifting their price targets and supporting the stock from beneath.
Well, let's go to two more stocks I want to cover today, and one is one of your favorites out there, and that's SoundHound. There's a question about that one too. And when
All
we
right.
talk about Nvidia and the whole AI sector, the semiconductors, the chip makers out there, really seeing a big boost, then the next conversation is always, well, who's using that AI technology the best, and who's, really making that commercial usage, and SoundHound is the perfect company for that. So, are we seeing those companies doing well this week too?
Right. SoundHound stock is up. It was up 2% today. Looks like it was up about 2% for the week. Still pretty good for the week so far, midweek. Certainly moving up from strong support after having corrected. This company has been showing some traction with deal volume, deal momentum, expanding verticals, deepening penetration, expanding away from its original first few customers, really solidifying its revenue growth outlook. It's expected to enter a hyper growth phase with triple-digit growth for the next few quarters and 2 years. Very possible that this outlook is too low just based on the last earnings report. Um, so, like I said, the chart's starting to look pretty good. If we get a nice solid report coming up, we have a catalyst for higher share prices.
Yeah, are you expecting anything out of SoundHound earnings season this year? Any kind of expectations for this company heading into earnings?
What I expect to see is just improved client counts, improved diversification, moves into new verticals, deepening penetration, and revenue growth above expectations.
Good. All right. The last one, I'm going to give you some time to look up. I'm going to pull up the chart. We have one viewer who Sunny wants to hear about Skywater Technology. The ticker symbol is SKYT. I'm pulling up some info about the company right now. He's wondering if this is a hidden gem. It's a US based specialty semiconductor foundry, advanced manufacturing services, integrated circuits. Interesting company because I don't think we've covered it before.
Yeah, I've never heard of it before.
Yeah, this is going to be a
Find
cold look for you, Thomas, but that's what we like to do on these live
All
streams is
right.
give people a chance to tell us
Let's
what they're
see here.
interested in. It looks like it was up quite a bit at the start or the end of last year, that December time frame, and is now slowly starting to climb back up. I think it's hard with these smaller companies because there's just not as much coverage out there. Right now, it's listed as a buy from analyst, but only an 14% upside or so from where it is today. Without knowing much about the company, and it looks like there's just 4 analysts that are covering it, and they're giving it some upside, but not a whole lot. Do you think that this kind of smaller companies have anywhere to compete with the big giants out there like the Nvidias and the Taiwan Semiconductor and those ones that have got so much of the market share already?
Well, competing, I don't think is really part of the question for them right now. The revenue is so low. Um, but what it looks like is that they had a business contraction this year, but they're expected to return to growth. That will be a catalyst for higher share prices. It seems well positioned for the U.S. onshoring. It really just depends on what they're actually making, what the demand for that is. Um, Pure play, foundry, and packaging. All right. So it certainly could get a benefit from onshoring technology. I mean, it's a U.S. foundry, potentially also a takeover target for some other company that would want to expand their own foundry exposure or just to get some U.S. based foundry capacity.
Very good. Well, Thomas, I'm going to end with you talking a little bit about some of the economic data to keep an eye out for this week, some that's already come out. But first, I want to talk a little bit about some other stock ideas that investors, those of you watching right now, you can check out on MarketBeat.com. They're really great stock ideas, the 10 best stocks to own this summer. If you haven't checked out this report yet, you can scan the QR code now or click a link that we have for you in the description of this video. It's MarketBeat's 10 best stocks to own this summer for 2025. Some really great names on there. Some you've heard of, some you haven't heard of, but all of them have really strong momentum for this year. So if you haven't checked that out yet, MarketBeat.com has so many great tools for you. I've been showing it off all this live stream. There's a lot on our website to really help you and investors look into these stocks. And then, of course, there's the people who write the articles on MarketBeat, like Thomas, and we love to hear your knowledge, Thomas. So what are you watching this week as far as some of the big economic data that's coming out and what it could mean for Nvidia's stock price moving on throughout the rest of this week?
Well, the data that's already been out is the consumer price index and the producer price index. The CPI was a bit hot. That's the consumer level inflation. And that kind of raised a little bit of fear in the market. However, it was offset by the PPI, which came in a little bit cool. So for those watching inflation and the Fed, the one offsets the other. Right now, the FOMC is probably not going to cut rates, but we're still looking for them to do so maybe once or twice by the end of the year. Tomorrow will be a pretty hot day for data. We've got the retail sales. We've got the import price index. We've got Philly Fed manufacturing survey, home builder confidence, and several speeches by Fed members. Retail sales will probably be the hottest report. We're looking for some growth, 3% month to month, probably 1% a little bit better on a year-over-year basis, which is pretty good and should help sustain the uptrend in the S&P 500. It'll certainly help reassure the market that the consumer is still healthy.
Well, very good information, Thomas. I know this is a shorter live stream than we normally do, but we really wanted to focus this one just on all of the price action in Nvidia. I love to see all of the comments coming in the chat of some other companies that were up quite a bit this week. Palantir, Rigetti had a really great movement in the stock price. We've got articles on all of those on MarketBeat.com, so it's a great place to look to get some more info on what's behind some of those surges and how you can play some of the price action in these other names that are out there this week. Again, keep them coming. We want to hear which stocks you're interested in. We'll continue to cover them on the channel. We've got other great content coming out for you yet this week. So stay tuned for a new video coming out every day the rest of this week. As for now, we're going to wrap up this live stream on Nvidia. Thank you again for watching, everyone. And if you're an Nvidia stockholder right now, congrats. Celebrate the great week. As always, happy investing, everyone.